Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the MooreSport3 podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Rayhan Bengu. I'm joined by the other wonderful journalists here. I'm joined by Phoebe Ross. Say hello.
Hello.
I'm joined by Zephyrin.
Hi, guys.
Luca.
Hi.
Alfie.
Hi.
And Sophie.
Hi.
How's everyone doing this Monday morning?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Sweet.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
Brilliant stuff, guys. So this week's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of what's happened in the last couple of weeks in terms for our website, MooreSport3 at WordPress, and talk a little bit about some of the stories we've worked on that we've really enjoyed, our backgrounder article that's coming quite soon, and also talk a little bit about the postponed Merseyside derby and where that leaves the two teams. So I think there's no better way to get started than talking a little bit about our backgrounder. So, Phoebe, would you like to talk a little bit about what the backgrounder is and give you a little bit of explanation into what you did to cover it?
Of course. It's exercising the elderly. We chose it because obviously this time of year is the most isolated for the elderly generation. And we went to health and fitness. We went to a couple of sessions of those. I went to Lark Lane and did the one of the fitness classes there. It was really, really fun. They are a funny bunch. They love life, and it's kind of just given them that second wind of like a whole new personality kind of thing. They're all lovely.
Oh, so that sounds absolutely lovely. And obviously, it wasn't just you that went down to Healthiness in Liverpool. It was also Zephyrin and Alfie. Starting with Zeph, how was your experience when you went down?
Yeah, it was really good. So obviously the instructor Andy, they clearly really love him. Like they go over loads of stuff there. It's sort of like it's exercise, but it's also community. You can see the social aspect all the time there. He was telling me that like the exercises, each one went over a different thing. So like some was balance, which is obviously like elderly people have falls all the time. It's to help them, especially like roads are icy, stuff like that. And he was saying like mobility as well, like muscles and joints, which helps them like down to stuff like getting dressed in the morning. Obviously it's hard, when you've used your shoulders all your life to put your hands above your head and help put t-shirts on and stuff. So that helps them loads. And there were people there from like 85 all the way down to like, there was a girl there that was like 34. So it just goes to show that it was like for everyone. Yeah, it was great. It was great. And the social aspect was huge for them. One of them said they only see one person a week. Well, they don't leave the house. It was the only time they left the house in a week was to go to that session, which just really goes to show how important it was.
Oh, brilliant stuff. So definitely like already from what I'm hearing, what everyone else is hearing, it's a very community-based, story, very heartwarming kind of story that obviously highlights a very, important issue that happens in the world right now. And I think, it's lovely to have these nice little stories of people just coming together, as much as it's about, the physical activity being important, it's also about that sense of just communicating and talking with people and just having friendships, which I think is lovely. And one person that obviously got to know that firsthand was Alfie, because I heard that you got involved in the sessions.
Yeah, I did. It was good. I think it's worth mentioning as well, like similar to what Zeph was saying, that it's all run by Andy, who's like the instructor. I don't think it'd work as well if it wasn't him running it almost. He's really good with them. Like he knows what jokes he can make and stuff like that. Like I was speaking to some of the participants afterwards, and they're saying like, they're all scousers, so they can take it, like they can give it, they can take it, and stuff like that. So it's really good that he's running it, and I think like a lot of them wouldn't enjoy it as much as they do if it wasn't for him. So I think he deserves sort of a bit of a special mention for that. But yeah, like you said, I did take part in it. I think just to make everyone a little bit more easy with me being sat at the back whilst I was reporting on it, they encouraged me to get involved, and it was interesting. To be fair, it wasn't what I expected. It was more difficult than I expected as well. I was struggling more than some of they were, I think. But yeah, like speaking to the participants, I'd say afterwards, and the social aspect is massive of it. A lot of them came from like a pain management course beforehand, so they were put on that initially, which was with Andy, and it was 5 weeks. And then a lot of them had just carried on coming afterwards. So this was like a separate thing, but it almost followed on from it. And they did it, yeah, like I say, to sort of manage the pain and stuff like that. But they also did it so they could have a chat beforehand with everyone. Everyone sort of congregates outside the little sports hall. And so, like, yeah, that's I think a very important part of it too. There's that little chat they can have before and then after.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the one thing that, again, as I mentioned, and I think you guys have mentioned, I think it's the fact that that kind of community element is really, really important now, because obviously sport isn't just about, kicking a ball or lifting weights or just doing simple walks around the park. It is also building a sense of friendship and community and togetherness with people, which is what I learned as well when I spoke to Alison, a lady who runs sessions in Southport with a session club called 55 Fitness, which basically does similar things to as healthiness in Liverpool, by setting up, physical activity sessions in churches or, the buildings, community centres, but also kind of highlighting that kind of social aspect by, having people talk. And actually, she even, talks about how, like, some people would take their partners with them just to meet other people. And it's really lovely. And that type of stuff, I think, is what makes, I guess, these fitness clubs just so much more lovely to kind of see and talk about. I think it is why we should talk about it. We should praise them in many ways, just because for that alone, they're doing a lot to help people during it, as Phoebe mentioned, with the kind of the cold times. We're in winter now. It's very cold, but it's also not just that. It's the isolation that people suffer, and it's just a horrible thing to think about. So it's wonderful. So to have you guys talk a little bit about kind of the background like that. I talk about kind of the experiences you had firsthand at kind of the sessions, the people that were there, and kind of how it helped them. I think is just wonderful. So that will be the backgrounder article that we'll be releasing on MooreSport3.com. Make sure you have a little check on that, and we'll also be posting some stuff on Twitter as well. Luca, Sophie, obviously, you didn't have a chance to go to these sessions, but from the sound of it, what do you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's dead interesting. I mean, doesn't exactly sound like something that like people of our age would be like tapping into, but it's good that the people have got down there and found out like what's going on with the older generation. I know someone said like someone's in their mid-30s, but it just shows like there is things going on for everyone, and sport isn't just for like the able-bodied, shall we say, but it's for everyone. So yeah, sounds sweet.
Brilliant stuff. So it definitely seems like everyone's really loving this story, and hopefully everyone is enjoying it. So Sophie, what do you make of this story, this upcoming article?
What are we talking about? Sorry, my fire alarm's just gone.
No worries. We were talking about the physical activity in the elderly, and kind of the stories that these guys told. Phoebe, Zeph, us, and me, and Luke, Alfie talked about. Just giving you kind of thoughts on it. What are you looking forward to it?
Oh, I think it's just so nice to see like a place for people to go in the community, because for so many old people, they're so isolated, sat at home, and like a lot of them don't have anyone to just like they go to the shops on their own. They don't have a place. Like obviously we all have university, school, like work. They don't have any of that, and a lot of the time they disconnect from their families because of that. So it's so nice to see that they can go and meet like-minded people.
Oh, absolutely lovely stuff. And again, guys, if you want to check the article out, it'll be on MooreSport3.com. And you can also check out on our Twitter, MooreSport3, as well, for that story. So moving on nicely from talking about some of that kind of heartwarming side of our journalistic kind of skills that we've learned, stuff that we've covered, and including that background, I think it's only fair that we go to talk about some of our favorite stories we've covered as journalists. And I think we've covered quite a lot of sports. Some of us have covered sports we've never covered whatsoever before in our lives, and we ended up really enjoying it. So I guess I'll start off, if you could, one of you, tell us a little bit about what is your favorite story. And I guess I'll start off with Luca. Luca, tell me, what was one of your favorite stories that you've covered?
Well, I'll do it in a way. I'll compare two experiences to sort of like so. The first thing I did, because it's what I knew, I went to Liverpool Academy to watch a game. I think it was Bologna. They won 2-0. It was pretty stale. And then the other thing I did is I dragged myself down to netball. Now this wasn't entirely planned, but you know what I'm like? I'll go with the flow. So I turn up. I'm sat there for about an hour. I'm like this. I'm deadpan. What is going on here? So I'm just sat there watching it, just watching the big scoreboard. I'm just going. So that's two. Like I'm clueless. But you know what? It was actually good to do something different, because all I ever do is footy. So I thought to myself, you know what? This is good, and it was that good. I went on Wednesday at 1 o'clock because I needed another story, and that was what was on. So I ended up watching another one. This time from a bird's eye view. So I thought I knew what was going on a bit more this time. It was easier to count than the first time when I was sat on the floor just watching it. But yeah, honest, in comparison, I'd say I preferred like throwing myself out there, going to do something different than just like slugging it up to Kirby to watch a game of academy footy that's a bit dry.
Definitely. So definitely from the sound of it, that experience of kind of going out as a journalist and experiencing something you've never watched before as a game is definitely one of the big key points in your journalistic career, which definitely I think all of us have experienced this year so far. So you've obviously said you've went another time, but are you planning on hopefully going, maybe again as a journalist, or maybe even just normally as a casual supporter?
I mean, I don't plan that far for the future, but I'll go with the win. So, if I'll turn up again.
Oh, brilliant stuff. So, moving, from Luca with your wonderful insight into a new sport, Phoebe, any story that you've, covered this year that you've really enjoyed?
I really liked going to the Supermoto British Grand Prix in Wigan. It was really great, and because it's not a very well-known sport, the drivers and like everyone there is really open to media and journalists. So you literally got to do like press with everyone. I interviewed the world champion and the British champion, sorry, who just won his national the day before and was retiring after that race. And then got to sit in the commentary box with the comms team and just listen to the commentary the whole time, and it was just really nice. It was a really good experience as well.
Oh, brilliant stuff. So would you say that, you weren't just covering the game in just that kind of sense of sitting in a stand and just kind of watching it all unfold? You actually were there with the commentary team just next to you, and, something like that, in terms of commentary in that sense, would you say you found it interesting and you thought to yourself, you know what, I want to do that. I want to see if I want to be a commentator.
Yeah, well, I'm a big F1 fan, so like speeding around the track is my kind of thing. But just going trackside to like an actual event was insane. And like you say, it's like it puts you more there rather than sitting in a stand and writing. Like it puts you closer to the action and it actually makes you feel like you're a part of it rather than an onlooker.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, so definitely. So from the sound of it, you've got Luca who talked a little bit about kind of experiencing a new sport. And with you, the best part was just kind of being close to the action and just being there and seeing it, right there where it's happening. It must be an incredible experience, whatever the sport is. I think it's a marvelous experience. That's definitely happened, I think, with any of us here, and definitely with some of the stories that I covered, but I'll talk about mine a little bit later. Moving on to Zeph. Zeph, do you have any stories that you covered that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, so I went down to Anfield, which in itself is a pretty crazy experience, and I watched Liverpool women's against Man City women's. And it was incredible, to be honest, just like start to finish. The game was really good, free flowing. Like, I think last time I said, it feels like the Premier League 15 years ago. It's not so rigid tactically. It's free flowing. It's fun to watch. And like, it's probably the fastest growing sport in the world. Ray, you were there. The whole COP was nearly sold out. Like families everywhere. And it was good. It was good. The standard is incredible. Like, City had this midfielder, Phoebe, her name, I completely forgot, 25. She was, I don't know, but she was so good for City. She was unbelievable, like dictating the tempo. It was like watching, I don't know, like name the best men's player you can think of. It was exactly the same. And it was incredible to watch. It was so fun.
I think I know who you're thinking of. It's the little, she's like really small, isn't she?
Yeah, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of the name.
No, I wouldn't either. No, but I know who
25.
you're on about, yeah.
Remember the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, as he pointed out, I was there at the game, and obviously, result-wise, didn't go the way that I hoped for, but it was genuinely a wonderful game, and I think it's just a testament to show how wonderful it is to see the rise of women's football in the last couple of years, and how how much of an inspiration it is for a lot of people. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of kind of drama. I'd say in that game, a lot of late drama happened, but it was definitely a fun time. And obviously for you, it must have been a brilliant experience to be there at Anfield to cover a game, which again must be absolutely magical. So yeah, definitely wonderful story and wonderful insight by you, Zeph. So thank you for that. Moving on to then Alfie. Alfie, any stories that you have that you really enjoyed? Maybe another one that you got wrapped into doing.
Yeah, I didn't actually participate in any of our stories, but I went down to Liverpool Tritons a few weeks ago, which is an inclusive rugby team. I'll be completely honest, I didn't actually know much about them before going down. I sort of had to like sort of sort out the sort of story, and I found them through sort of research. But they're really good. So, like I said, they're an inclusive rugby team. Sort of gay people, bisexual people, transgender people, everything like that. Everyone's welcome. They've got two teams. They've got a rugby union team. They've got a touch rugby team. The touch rugby team was particularly interesting because that's obviously just there's no tackling in it. There's just a touch is a tackle, and then it's like a break and play. So anyone can play that at any age. And it was really interesting and sort of like inspiring almost to see sort of like the variety of people that were playing that. I interviewed a lady. She said that she would never have imagined herself playing rugby with like men half her age, where she could be like their mum or something like that. But she was, and she was really enjoying it. And they compete to quite a high level in these sort of tournaments. They're part of the IGR, which is like the International Gay Rugby League sort of thing. They've been to tournaments all across the world. Went to Rome. They've got another one, I think, in Glasgow soon. So they get to meet all these different people, and it's really nice just to see that people can sort of find the place because the sort of theme with most of the people I interviewed was that they played rugby when they were younger maybe, but sort of fallen out of love with the sport just due to sort of various different reasons. But then they managed to find like this inclusive rugby team, and it was good because it was all like-minded people. They're all sort of wanting to achieve the same thing together, just like enjoy playing rugby again. Everyone was supportive of each other, and the common theme that everyone sort of mentioned, I think, was like it was like a second family to them. Some people were saying it was like basically the first family, that they've been maybe cast away from their original one for one reason or another. So it was really sort of nice to sort of see that all these people had found their place in the community.
Oh, lovely, lovely story. I mean, from the sound of it, that kind of community, kind of family aspect was really what I guess what made it interesting for you. And I think that is just lovely to hear about. And I think with all of your stories so far, from what I've heard, it's always nice. You've got people going to sports they didn't know, being near the action, being in a place as massive as Anfield. But then with you, and I guess with you is that community, that kind of that's love and support and family that's brought everyone together, which is lovely. And I think that kind of areas is what we should champion in any sport, whether it be football, rugby, golf, racing, whatever it should be. Yeah, I think it's a lovely story that you touched up on there, and I think is a brilliant read on MooreSport. I think for all of our stories being on there, I think it will be a wonderful read. And lastly, moving on to Sophie. Sophie, any stories that you covered that you went to events that you really enjoyed?
Oh, my favourite one was when I got invited down to the Warrington Wolves annual kit launch photo. And this year was actually the first year that they've included anyone who's not in their first teams. They had the Women's Player of the Year, Millie Bell, a physical disability rugby league player, a learning disability rugby league player, and the wheelchair vice captain, sorry. And it was just so nice to see a club like at such a high level that's so in touch with their community. And all the parents were there, and they just kept saying like how nice it is that their kid's been involved in such a thing of like so many people are going to see this kit launch. So it just shows the whole community like how in touch the club is with them. And I got to speak to the wheelchair vice captain, Mick Brown, and he was saying how he's been at the club for 30 years, and it's just so nice to finally be involved in something.
Brilliant stuff. Oh, lovely. That's a lovely story. And obviously, again, kind of going back to Alfie's story, it's a very community-based kind of story for people to read on. And I think it's just lovely that we're kind of having more people getting included, more people being part of the team. And obviously I think it's wonderful. And as I mentioned with Zeph, with the women's team, women's football, the rise in different levels of sport with different groups of people, I think it's just wonderful to see. So it's a testament to how wonderful Warrington Wolves did with their kit launch. So absolutely wonderful stories, and all of your stories, guys, have been absolutely incredible. But I think it kind of pales in comparison a bit to mine. My favorite story, and it's a bit more on the lines of Luca. It was when I went to a wrestling match in Southport, Crowning Glory 3, it was called. And to be honest, I knew very little about wrestling. I didn't know what the rules were. I didn't really know kind of how it all happened, but I went into it from the first fight to the last. It was just entertaining, and I ended up really enjoying myself over there. It was fun. It was brash. There was just a lot going on. I never thought I'd see like men and women just throwing chairs, well, not chairs, but ladders at each other, which was definitely a bit of a weird sight to see, but it was definitely a really enjoyable affair. And in the end, I think it was just a really, as I mentioned, entertaining game, and everyone enjoyed their time over there. Everyone was like cheering and rooting, and there was definitely an essence of like heroes and villains there. So it was just wonderful. And again, it was an absolutely lovely little, I don't know, like match report to cover on a sport that, again, similar to Luca, I had no real clue about, but I really ended up enjoying it. So yeah, I think that is definitely my highlight, and the rest of your highlights were absolutely wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. And if you want to read anything about these stories and my story, you can check out on MooreSport3.com, and you can also check our Twitter and our Instagram as well. So I guess moving into kind of the last little major story. I say major because obviously we last Saturday we were expected the Merseyside derby, only for the Storm to postpone the game. So there was no Liverpool v Everton at all. Everyone, I'm pretty sure, was a bit disappointed by it, but obviously they understood why. The Storm it could cause the game to get change ways, many different ways, and obviously it's a high risk Storm. So obviously it was absolutely understandable why they had to postpone it. But obviously there has been no date, as far as I'm aware, that has confirmed when the game will be happening. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about kind of the next couple games that these two sides, Liverpool and Everton, will be playing in. So starting it off with Liverpool's last game, which was a disappointing 3-3 draw at St. James Park at Newcastle. Phoebe, what did you make of the game?
Just insane. Like, how we can go from being so dominant to then just that little slip.
Yeah.
It was frustrating, but at the same time, it's sort of like, thank God we didn't lose.
Yeah.
But then you look at Newcastle's result this week, and you think we definitely should have beat them.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an interesting one, because I thought Liverpool first half was just not at it. They made so many silly mistakes. Second half, when the substitutes came on, especially Szoboszlai and Trent, massively changed the game. But I think, as you mentioned, that little mistakes can cost a lot of points. And obviously with Kelleher, he's a good player. I think mistakes like that happen a lot of the time for goalkeepers or any player. He shouldn't he should hold his head up high. He's done us a lot of good. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, thank God Liverpool didn't lose. It's a good result, considering you look at the other results: City, United, Tottenham, and Arsenal. They've all dropped points. So for Liverpool, their title charge is still not massively impacted, but obviously it might need to improve on, focusing into the next couple games in the Premier League. Obviously, their next game is the Girona game in the Champions League. And then obviously, you look at the opposite with Everton. They somehow managed a 4-0 win against Wolves. Luca, what do you make of that game, that result for Everton? What does it mean for them?
I think the scoreline is quite deceptive. Not to say they didn't deserve to win, but getting 2 own goals in the same game is like ridiculously lucky. Considering Craig Dawson is now their second top goal scorer for the season, that should illustrate how it has gone for them. Like, you got Ashley Young, 40-year-old, scoring like a brilliant free kick, and Everton did deserve to win. They dominated Wolves. Wolves weren't at it. Wolves just looked completely gone. Cunha and Strand Larson complementing together. But then again, with Everton's play style, it's just a lot of long balls, play for set pieces. And if the game had gone ahead this weekend, I think the conditions and the fact that Liverpool looked so leggy against Newcastle would just spell drop points for Liverpool, to be honest with you. I can just imagine James Tarkowski lumping up a ball, the wind carrying it over Van Dijk's head, and Calvert-Lewin just nicks it past Kelleher. So I think the week off has done a lot more good for Liverpool than it would Everton, as Liverpool can get players back. And as much as Everton are in good form, if you want to say that, they've won one game. They got slapped up and conceded 2 to Xerxes last week, who's terrible. So I'd say Liverpool come out of the decision to cancel the game better, but yeah, still Everton can look on to next week now, I think.
And then that is, in fact, moving on to the next games for these teams. Obviously, Liverpool have Girona in the Champions League, and Everton have obviously a very, very tough game. They have Arsenal away. Looking at those two, I mean, Liverpool with Girona. I mean, Alfie, for you, what do you see out of that result?
Well, I see them going back to winning form again. They've won all but, is it 2-3 games this season, Liverpool? I think no one really, I don't think anyone expected them to start this well, but since they have, I think you can't really see them now slipping up at all. I think they're more or less, well, they are through in the Champions League, aren't they now?
Yeah.
I think they're confirmed to be in the top 7. So I suppose they could just play a B-string team, rest a few players, but they've had a rest on Saturday. So maybe not. I think they should go for the win. And I can't really see them getting any other result other than a win.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely seems like a game that if Liverpool win, it could get them back on track, after the disappointment of the Newcastle game, and just march on a little bit forward in the Premier League. We're coming towards the end of the year. I think if they can just get don't lose any more games in the rest of this year, I think for them they'll build up a nice level of form heading into the next year. And obviously, talk about the Everton game. We obviously have Zephyrin, who is an Arsenal fan. What do you make of the Everton game, Arsenal Everton game for them? What do you think Everton will come out in that game?
Well, obviously it's important for Everton to win every game in the same way it's important for Arsenal to win every game. It's tough for both sides, to be honest. I think we touch on luck, and luck needed to win a title or stay up in a relegation battle. Liverpool got lucky this weekend because they didn't play a game and every single result they needed went their way. You could say the Chelsea game didn't, but I don't know. That's pure opinion. And obviously Everton probably will need a whole lot of luck to beat Arsenal on the weekend, no matter what kind of vein of form they're in. Everton just they're not competing at that level, and I don't think an Everton fan would admit that, to be honest. If they got a result at the Emirates, so that would be absolutely massive for them and their whole season, to be honest.
Yeah, good insight from Zephyrin there. And obviously, I think he is right. Everton fans at this point, I think, would take a good result over there. So definitely a draw. It's definitely not out of the cards. Even a win, I don't think is out of the cards. Everton could, as I mentioned, with the Wolves result, kind of it blew them away, everyone away. So I definitely see it's not impossible, but definitely it's a mountain to climb for Everton. And the last kind of thing we talk about this derby, obviously, again, we have no clue about the date of when it's going to be happening again. But Sophie, in your eyes, do you think with this postponement and the next time that these two teams meet, do you think who will come out on top?
If you look at Everton's next few games, they have obviously Arsenal, as we just talked about. I think they have Man City and Chelsea as well. So I think if you throw Liverpool in that, it's going to be a hard few games for Everton to get their momentum. And obviously they're coming off the back of a 4-0 win against Wolves, but I just think that's a difficult few games to go in. Whereas Liverpool, I think they have the EFL Cup against Southampton. We've got a Champions League game, so I think Liverpool are in favour with the next few games if it does get rescheduled between all of them.
Definitely good insight from there. And definitely, again, as you mentioned, obviously Liverpool have more games in that kind of sense in other competitions, whereas Everton have really the Premier League to focus on. But it'll definitely make for a very interesting affair. Obviously, again, it's the last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, so definitely is a game we'll all be looking forward to. But that being said, that has been this week's episode of the MooreSport3 podcast. Make sure to check out our website, MooreSport3.com, our Instagram, MooreSport3, and our Twitter, MooreSport3. I have been your host, Rehan Bengug, and I've been also joined by Phoebe Ross.
Hi.
Luca Crane.
Yeah.
Alfie Bug.
See you later.
Sophie.
Bye.
And Zephyrin.
See ya.
So I'll see you all guys next week, and I hope you have a good time watching all sports. Thank you, and bye-bye.